What up, boomers? Hi, I'm back. A couple weeks ago, I posted my first video on YouTube talking about how I made the game in just 1 week. Today, I'm gonna talk about what I did in the past few weeks working on the game. Not too much, but I think it could be funny. So, enjoy the video and we'll see each other at the end of it. By the way, I know, one day I'm gonna buy a stick for this thing so that I could stand up without looking like a f***ing, I don't know, TV host or something. But it's not today. You know why? Because I'm poor. So, if you want me to buy a stick for this thing, just subscribe and smash like right now, smasher. Because otherwise I'm gonna find you and I'm gonna eat you alive. Yeah, that's it, pretty much. And Carla, she is my girlfriend. Come here.
I just wanted to say that Italy won Eurovision. Bye.
Okay, after that cringe mastery, we can go on. To start, I sat down and did a little bit of playtest, just to check out what the game was missing. So, the first thing that came to my mind was actually to add some more power-ups. I had a couple of ideas, and this was a good chance to throw them right into the game. The shooting star was the first one. The design was simple. A star-like thingy would appear on the screen, and shooting it would activate its power, making it spinning around and shooting bullets. But those bullets could hit the player. That's why I converted it to something that spawns around you and then starts spinning, shooting bullets at enemies. I spent a day setting this up, and when it was finally done, I realized it was overpowered as fuck. So I dumped the idea, and I was a bit discouraged by it. Also, we don't need more power-ups. We are just gonna fix what we have right now, starting with
Black hole.
this little thing needed to be fixed, especially in its ring animation. Animations in Unity are usually done with the animator tool, but for this ring, I coded it, and it was awful. So, you know what I did with this code? After that, I remade the animation with the right tool this time, and that was it, the next hotfix. It wasn't very clear where the black hole force started to pull object towards the center. That's why I started to work on a visual hint with the Unity particle system. The first idea was to make some kind of space dust orbiting around the black hole. Wow, so nice. Anyway, after some tweaking, I got this. Okay, now it actually looks like the black hole is pulling stuff. Plus, it gets bigger and stronger whenever you boom 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 until it spawning this cute particle explosion. And with that, black hole was on point, so I took it for a test ride. Works for me. Next topic. But first, birthday time. And now that my spine rests assured, let's go on. Some of my friends told me that they want to aim with an analog stick, but I didn't know how to implement an analog stick because I'm dumb. And in order to learn how to do it, I used this incredible tool called the internet and found out this beautiful joystick pack for free. So special thanks to I don't know how to pronounce your name studio. Implementation is super easy, just take the joystick prefab and put it into a canvas, and here you go. I then made a couple of icons and used them as a button to switch between analog and touch mode. I didn't exactly know what happened at this point, but my inspiration was pretty drained, and without even realizing it, birthday time again. This dust converter really was a blessing. It helped so much when I was checking other people's work, you know, for inspiration. Yeah, by the way, that's exactly how I stumbled on this video series by Design Doc, an awesome game design channel, link in description, and that's why I started to develop a boss fight. The video series explains very well that a good boss fight should cover at least one of those 3 roles. For what concerns geoddity, we can check test of skills and change of pace, since the boss fight itself is a nice change of pace, and the game structure allows for test of skills. But I guess we will throw out the window the narrative device, swapping it with some nice visual design. I'll explain that in a moment. But first, let's design the basics of this boss fight. The main structure would be divided in 3 slices, each one subdivided in 2 halves. The first one much more similar to the actual game, where the boss would fly around the player, sending at you modified version of the basic enemies. The second one would switch the camera angle, allowing the player to have a standoff with the boss. During this phase, the boss will shoot some special bullets at you that hit it at the right timing would go back to the boss, stunning him for a short period of time, while you shoot at him, dealing damage. And based on that, the new slice would come in, and so on until you beat him. I added the details for each individual phase, but before starting with the development, I needed to get down the boss looks. And here is where visual design comes into play. Do you remember that I said that this would be the substitute for the narrative device? In this game, we have no story, thus we don't have any narration. But what we do have is a general theme, and it is geometric shapes. So we can swap the narrative device with the theme echoing, which is the idea to recall the general theme of the game using aspects of the game itself.
Look at how the roof caps echo each other, even though they're a little different from each other.
In our case, the boss looks. I tried to build some cool shape using all the enemies that I had in the game, but I failed like super hard in the beginning until my man Mimo gave me a very good advice. So I came up with something like this, and I know I'm not supposed to give my opinion, but this boss looks kind of sick. At this point, I added some animation to the boss. After that, I just started to work on the boss movement, and this time I used physics. Cause all people in history loved physics. Like Robespierre once said, "Man, I love when things fall to the ground and roll on the floor." So I boomed the rigid body on the boss exactly as you should boom like right now, boomers. And now this dude moves kind of smooth. So we now can start working on the first minion. I reused the asset from the Pentagon, and I wanna point out that this is a very fancy design move, because it's totally not me recycling assets, but it's me echoing the theme of the game. By the way, I made the thing spin on itself and change colors so that the player could tell roughly when it's going to attack. And since the Pentagon would be spawned by the boss, I made a spawn animation using some kick-ass particles. I then made an animation for the Pentagon's death too, and stitched everything together. Plus, whenever you kill all the enemies that the boss spawns, you get a life ring. And since you can get 3 life ring max, this first part repeats itself 3 times, giving the player the possibility to get to full health before going to the next phase. It was now time to start developing phase 2. So I started to work on this special bullet that I called Volley Bomb, because my imagination knows no bounds. Even though it makes some kind of sense in a weird way. I mean, the volleyball goes back and forth between the opposite teams. This is basically the same, you just have to swap team 1 with the player and team 2 with the boss. And the volleyball with the volley bomb. I mean, I'm not supposed to give my opinion, but it sounds kinda cooler than volleyball to me. Anyway, the volley bomb was just a normal hexagon that changes color whenever it gets closer to the player or the boss. To make it a little bit cooler, I added some particles. It was working fine. The boss and the player could actually do this little game of sending back to each other the volley bomb, but it wasn't still very clear that you could hit the boss only when it was stunned. So I made him a super cool Sakura shield that turned off only when the boss was stunned. I took the boss fight for a test ride until here, and everything was working kind of well, but you know guys, all those kind of little bugs and tweaks, they take some time to fix. So yeah, this was pretty much it for those 2 weeks. And I know it's not a lot, but you know, I spent 2 weeks working on this, and I thought it would be fair to do a video on it. It was kind of fun to do it. With that said, I don't know if I'm gonna continue working on this project, because making a boss like I designed it takes a lot of time and effort, and I don't know if I want to spend all the time and effort on this project. But one thing is for sure, I'm gonna continue making videos and new projects. Very exciting, very 3-dimensional maybe. By the way, if you like this video, leave a like and subscribe. Otherwise, leave a dislike and tell me in the comments what you didn't like so that I could be better next time. Until then, stay safe and play games, my dudes. Mwah.